Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Hello and welcome to today's Battletech presentation. Today we're going to be looking at the Goliath, which is one of those odd machines that has been getting a little bit more popular recently. There's a few new designs on it that are working fairly well, at least from my understanding. It is one of the original quad mechs. There hasn't been that many quads in production, but they've been getting more and more popular, at least recently, with some of the newer designs. But this one here really is one of those OG designs before a lot of the quad's little issues were ironed out. So let's get into it. The first official quad battle mech. There were quad industrial mechs before, but actual battle mech was the Xantos in 2564, which was quickly followed up by Brigadier's Corporation release of the Scorpion in 2570. We already have a video on the Scorpion up. It's a fun machine that I think I like more and more the more I look into it. But that original Scorpion was quite a bumpy ride. It didn't really catch on as much as they would have wanted with the original buyers. Brigadier did stick with it though and sold decent amounts either to successor states, well, back then there were Star League states and the Terran hegemony, and they made some advances on the quad design and brought something a little bit more stable with the Goliath in 2652. If you look at the leg assembly on either of them, you will understand why one is a little bit more stable than the other. Again, that was not a design that caught on as much as they probably would have wanted, but people were desperate for battle mechs, especially during the Succession War, and Brigadier was able to build them. So they still managed to sell a respectable amount, well, enough for us to see Goliaths in quite a few formations, I would say. At least during the Succession War, they were not that rare. On the lower end of the assault range, it's at 80 tons. The Goliath 1H is reasonable with a 64 kilometers per hour speed, using a very custom Brigadier 1000 F320 fusion engine. That's the hard bit when you're working on a Goliath, because that engine is quite unusual compared to any other that you've seen, at least in how it's positioned. You will have to get the actual design documents in order to be able to replace it easily. It has 17 heat sinks to keep it reasonably cool, and the armor is protected by 14.5 tons of standard compound, which is very decent on an 80-ton mech. A basic overall design, the Goliath is built as a fire support unit with a Rand PPC and a pair of Ollie 10-rack LRM, which are probably some of the most common racks you can find out there. If anything gets close and if there's infantry around, you get 2 Ramsey 65 machine guns to help you out. Of course, anything getting in closer range of a Goliath is probably going to be able to take it out. It's a bit of a risky machine in that regards, but as a quad, if you try to sneak up behind it, you might get still kicked by it because it's able to do that bucking bronco kind of move, and it is quite scary to see when it happens. Unlike many mechs of that particular era, there's really no Succession War variant for the Goliath. For some reason, people didn't want to modify it or play around with it, or possibly there was nobody that wanted to have a factory modify that particular design because of that engine that it has and some of the other odd parts on it. You will have some custom rebuilds, you will have some upgrade kits, but you're not going to have anything official. Quads weren't super popular back then, and since like I said, quite a few of the parts are proprietary, it would make replacement fairly hard. The only well-known Goliath pilot that I know of is Colonel Fiona Cochrane of the Cochrane Goliaths, who had a number of those machines under her command. But the real reason why we remember her is because she got killed by Andrew Redburn, a guy who's got a few Treaty shows made about his life, and that was, well, fairly influential in Federated Sons and, well, later on Republic of the Sphere. With the reintroduction of modern technology, the Goliath did see an upgrade kit come out in 3047. Uses the 320 XL engine and goes the same speed, but has half a ton of armor more than the original. Not a whole lot, but you know, at that point, 15 tons of armor is pretty significant on an 80-ton mech. The main difference is that the main gun is now a Zeus slingshot Gauss rifle, which gives you more punch than that PPC, but you need to carry ammo for it. The explosive ammo are now stored in case bin in order to increase your protection, but there was also a 3M2 upgrade from it, which removed the machine guns altogether and replaced them with small pulse lasers, which is a massive improvement, at least in my opinion. Later on, two more things brought a renewal to the Goliath design. The first one is that people actually started liking quads again, mostly because those Scorpions actually got a smoother ride once people understood how to make the leg assembly work. The second thing was Project Phoenix, which is a project weapon upgrades program that was focusing on a number of older machines to give them a new life, basically. The first upgraded Goliath is the Goliath 3S, which is meant as a siege breaker. What you'll see on a lot of modern Goliath is that they use a light fusion engine rather than the Excel engine. The main reason for that is, well, you want to save some weight on that rather massive 320 engine, but you don't want to spend that much space in your side torsos to have it installed. Light engines are a little bit smaller and still save you about 25% of the weight of the engine, so it's not a bad thing. For close range, that particular design has an LB-20X autocannon, allowing you to shoot canister or slug shots, which is a very nice weapon overall, and you get 3 ER medium lasers for closer range engagement as well. At longer range, you've got a 10 rack LRM, you only have one now, and an ER large laser, which is a decent enough weapon. Personally, I'd probably swap all those ER lasers with regular lasers, save on the eat, you get the same amount of damage, but when you're fighting clan units, sometimes you do need that extra range. Really depends on what you can afford to do with the machine. In 3067, some periphery rats decided that they had a bunch of Goliaths 1H and that they wanted to upgrade them with their own particular kit. A lot of those come from the Marion Hegemony, I will be honest here, but what they've done is take out the machine guns and slap 6 one-shot rocket launchers on the chassis. Is it good? Well, you get a massive one-time punch with all of those rockets, and you keep the same fire support setup with that PPC and 2 LRM-10, so it's not terrible, but I'm not a massive fan of one-shot weapons, especially on an assault mech where you might need it to do more than one thing, basically. At the same time, the Lyrans did come out with another design with the Goliath 4S using a 320 light engine. This one uses a Defiance Amethyst heavy Gauss rifle, which was brand new at the time, backed up by that good old 10 rack LRM. Heavy Gauss rifles are a little bit weird because even though it's a long range weapon, you want the enemy to be fairly close in order to get maximum damage out of it. But it still deals a significant punch even at long range. At closer range, you still get 2 ER medium lasers, which will help you out. And the old machine uses brand new electronics and is very nifty and is harder to maintain because of it. On the other side of the border during the Civil War, House Davion also made a Goliath, but in this case, they went with something as close to the original as possible in terms of the chassis and the engine. The main gun is a rotary AC-5, which was brand new at the time, and it is complemented by 4 ER medium lasers. All of that is linked to a targeting computer, so you get fairly good accuracy on all of those weapons, and you get a pair of machine gun against infantry and that weird underbelly mount. I would have preferred small pulse lasers. When it's available, small pulse lasers are generally more efficient than machine guns, and you run less of a risk of your entire mech going up in flames because of it. Sneaking around in a quadrupedal machine that weighs 80 tons is not always easy, but if you use 16.5 tons of stealth armor and a Guardian ECM, it might actually work. This one actually didn't come out from House Liao, as I would originally have surmised, it actually comes out of the Word of Blake. It also has a C3I computer, as with most Comstar/Word of Blake machine, and you're sitting in a fairly uncomfortable small cockpit. If we got the plans for that thing and sent them over to Apple, they'd probably be able to fix it up with their own small cockpit C3I assembly to make it comfortable again. But that's a discussion for another time. For the main gun, you get a pair of Cirrus Arm Smasher plasma rifle backed by 3 regular medium lasers. This is really a Liao design built by the Word of Blake, looking at the weapon and the equipment. But it is a rather efficient little piece of engineering in the long run. There is an infantry Hunter Goliath also with the 6H variant, which uses 6 light machine gun in 2 arrays and a set of B-pod on each of the legs to blow away battle armors. This is on a light engine to save a little bit of weight, and for the actual main weapon, you've got an heavy PPC and a pair of 10 rack LRM with case bins for the ammo. If you have to use an 80-ton mech to hunt down infantry, there might be an issue, but this one's not going to be, terrible. You should be able to go faster than running infantry in a Goliath. But if they're on motorcycle, if they're carried around in APCs, if they're actual battle armors, once you run out of those B-pods at close range, I'm not 100% sure that's a great setup. While working on evolving the design, the Goliath 6M takes the walking tank to its logical extreme by installing an actual torso-mounted turret on the design. On that turret, you've got a Gauss rifle and a 7-tube/rack of MML with a 360-degree range since it's a turret on top of a quad mech. You've got a second MML-7 fixed forward, just because it probably doesn't fit on the turret. The legs have mounts for lasers for close range protection with an ER medium laser and a variable speed small pulse laser in a 1 forward, 1 backward positioning. So you've got a 1 ER medium and 1 variable speed pulse laser pointing in each direction. To save on room, they also installed a compact gyro. I'm not a massive fan of this one, but it works fairly well, and as a test bed for some technology, it's a good idea. There is a new series of Goliath coming out now with the 7C as the first one in 3133 from various Republican-affiliated companies. The 7C uses light ferrofibrous to thicken up the eye a bit and is built to be a close-range brawler. The main gun is an Ultra AC-10 with a 10-rack LRM to support it, with a pair of 6-tube Streak SRM on the other side. You also get 2 ER medium lasers, and 4 tons of reloads for the autocannons, 2 tons of reloads for the SRM, all protected by Case 2, so the mech doesn't blow up just as much. A bit of a return to form here with the Goliath 7R. This one uses a light ferrofibrous Case 2 and a light engine to save on weight and increase protection. And for weapons, well, you've got a Gauss rifle and a pair of 10-rack LRM. For anti-infantry weapons, those are taken out completely and are replaced by a pair of ER medium lasers. Roughly put, it's your original Goliath with better short-range firepower, but no infantry hunting capabilities. When you have factories, well, you should use them normally. That's what Clan Wolf did with the Goliath as they started building the Goliath C in 3143, taking inspiration from that 6M. It uses an inner sphere-inspired compact gyro to save on space with a targeting computer in the center torso, while the left torso is equipped with that quad turret. The turret itself has a Gauss rifle and an ER large laser and a micro pulse laser. The micro pulse laser will be useful against infantry, but when you need to turn the entire turret assembly backwards to shoot at infantry, you're not going to be using that Gauss rifle and ER large laser for that. On the other side, you've got a 2-ton fed ATM-9 and a chin-mounted ER medium laser. Each leg also features a B-pod to blow away battle armors that would try to climb on it. It's a simple enough design, and it's functional enough that it's going to be used extensively. But like most of those C machines, those are more reserved for Solama and second line units. Newest from Auskurita in 3148 is the Goliath 7K, which is basically meant to kick things down. You keep that light engine and you couple it with a supercharger to get speeds of up to 86 kilometers per hour, which is pretty scary on an 80-ton mech that doesn't use a 400 engine. The main gun is a capacitor-powered heavy PPC, and it's backed up by a pair of Apollo-guided MRM-10 racks. To take care of closer targets, you've got 2 machine guns and 4 M-pods, which is basically a LB-10X canister loaded up on one of the legs, meant to blow whatever gets pretty close to you off. In terms of side development, well, there is the Sirocco, which came out from Korean Enterprises in 3060, which was strongly inspired by the Goliath. It's a 95-ton machine, however. It's a lot slower, but it has 19.5 tons of standard plates coupled with a Guardian ECM for protection. There's an Ultra AC-10 on the back. There's tons of lasers. You've got barely enough heat sinks to make it run. But it does show that you can make a big and tough quad if required, and we'll probably talk about it later at some point. The Goliath is still not a common machine by any stretch of the imagination. Even with all of those design, it never had the strong market penetration of things like the Warhammer, as an example. With new quad designs like the Barkist and that Sirocco, we probably will keep seeing Goliaths walking around, but others have outperformed it in the market. A lot of them use those light engines, making them decently tough, even though they're not the toughest. And most of them have limited firepower or minimum range associated with their weapons, making them not always the best. Where it's nice, though, is that it has plenty of armor, it's hard to knock down, and it really fits the bill as a walking tank, which not all mechs should be espousing to be. So I thank you very much for listening to me for so long. I hope you guys have a very nice rest of your day. And I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.